Introduction to Hallucinations. An hallucination is an experience involving the apparent perception of something not present. But how do we know it isn't present? Because other people say it isn't there? Because it doesn't fit our beliefs of what should be there? Maybe none of us knows what reality is, and we have a video that explores this possibility, the concept of reality. Nevertheless, hallucinations are a major category of spiritual experience, with literally hundreds of thousands on our website, so it behoves us to study them further, and we will start by looking at the nervous system. The nervous system. The nervous system supplies our mind with signals that theoretically tell us about our environment. We have one very extensive system in our bodies, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. These in turn feed through to another set in our head, supplying us with smell, olfactory sensations, visual, ocular sensations, the oculomotor, trochlear and abducens nerves move the eye, audible sensations. The vestibular nerve innervates the vestibular system of the inner ear, which is responsible for detecting balance, and the cochlear nerve travels to cochlea of the inner ear, forming the spiral ganglia which serve the sense of hearing. Taste sensations. 3 nerves are associated with basic taste: a facial nerve, which provides fibres to the anterior 2/3 of the tongue, and the glossopharyngeal nerve, which provides fibres to the posterior third of the tongue. The hypoglossal nerve enables the tongue movement. These muscles help you speak, swallow, and move substances around in your mouth. The tactile, touch and pain sensations. The trigeminal and vagus nerves. The trigeminal nerve is the final part of the sympathetic nervous system, and the vagus nerve is the final component of the parasympathetic nervous system. Dr. David Chalmers. But how do all these electrical, chemical and mechanical signals become sensations, experiences? And at this point, we need to introduce Dr. David Chalmers. Dr. Chalmers, born the 20th of April 1966, is the Professor of Philosophy and Neuroscience and co-director of the Center for Mind, Brain and Consciousness at the New York University. His claim to fame is that he is best known for formulating the hard problem of consciousness. Dr. Chalmers is Australian, but in 1993 he received his PhD in philosophy and cognitive science from Indiana University, Bloomington, under Douglas Hofstadter, writing a doctoral thesis entitled Toward a Theory of Consciousness. Chalmers became a founding member of the Association for the Scientific Study of Consciousness, as well as one of its past presidents. The videos we all produce are intended to contribute to to this study too. And the website www.allaboutheaven.org is also intended to be a major source of information for those who wish to study this area. The reason Dr. Chalmers has become so well known is that he alerted the scientific community to the hard problem. He said, to do any science, we have to deal with our conscious mind. But to do proper science, we are told we have to be objective. Anything subjective needs to be eliminated. But we find that we actually have to use the subjective in order to understand the objective. So, for example, we can objectively describe how sensors on our skin identify the temperature, then how the nerves transmit the messages to our brain. But the final step we cannot explain, because consciousness describes a feeling, an entirely subjective experience. In other words, our consciousness provides an entirely subjective impression of the feeling. And my feeling of sadness may be experienced completely differently from your experience. And how I experience this photo of David and his mum may be completely different to the way you experience it. As he says, how does the water of the brain turn into the wine of consciousness? The mind and hallucinations. So why do we get hallucinations? To understand this, we need to see what is happening functionally in the mind. This is a model of the mind, showing the higher spirit, the conscious, and the subconscious. The subconscious receives sensations from our body, and this is the magic that David Chalmers is talking about, as signals from the physical nervous system become information and experience. So an experience of redness, for example, which is uniquely ours, your experience of red may not be my experience of red. Sensations are then perceived, becoming perceptions, which our conscious mind can use. The sensations include the experiences from our five senses, so images that are captured by our eyes, sounds that are captured by our ears, and smells that are captured by our nose, tastes that are captured by our taste buds, and touch sensations that are captured by senses in our skin. But what if the pathways in our body to the functions which are there to convert them into a usable signal are damaged, or even not working? Images missing, sounds missing, smells missing, tastes missing, and touches missing. The answer is that the higher spirit, specifically the composer function of the higher spirit, will find a substitute, and it may be an entirely apt substitute, so we may not realize we are hallucinating, or it may be a totally non-apt, even alarming substitute, so that we are warned that something has gone wrong and we don't hurt ourselves, or it may be a substitute that is unlikely and doesn't frighten us, but still tells us we are hallucinating. The apt substitute. The higher spirit does not use the senses of the body, but it knows what we should be sensing. It attempts to create a substitute perception. Jacques Lusseyran, 19th of September 1924 to 27th of July 1971, was a French author, blinded at the age of 8. But at 17, Lusseyran became a leader in the French resistance. He was betrayed by one of his group and sent to Buchenwald concentration camp, but was one of 30 of his group of 2,000 inmates to survive. This is called blind sight, and we have a link to a video in the description where Jacques describes this. Non-apt warning. Where we allow something into our bodies that is seriously damaging or disrupting the normal communication signals, the higher spirit composer might use a hallucination to warn us not to do it. For example, numerous pharmaceuticals, legal and illegal, damage the nervous system, and the use of frightening insects, hallucinations, is a frequent means of warning the person to stop using the drugs. We have a video in 2 playlists, Introduction to Insect Symbolism, that describes this symbolism. Unlikely substitute. The composer may also provide a substitute sensation which is not frightening or an attempt at a close substitute, but a pleasant sensation, a perfume for example. In this case, it is a sign that you are being looked after, that what you are experiencing may be an hallucination, but it is to let you know the spirits are there. Two ways to skin a cat. Hallucinations can be brought on by sensory overload or sensory deprivation. Sensory deprivation deprives the senses of stimulation. Sensory overload can damage the senses by overstimulation. Hence, very, very loud music creates sensory overload because it resonates the organs of your body, whereas lying in a float chamber at body heat would be classified as sensory deprivation. Tactile hallucinations are experiences of bodily sensations that have no source. We may consume something or subject ourselves to something that overloads the body's senses. Surgery, boxing, and other contact sports. On the other hand, bodily sensory deprivation deprives the mind of bodily sensations. Olfactory hallucinations are experiences of smells that are not there. We may smell something so strong it overloads our olfactory nerve and may even damage it. On the other hand, our nose may be blocked, or we may deliberately block it and deprive it of smells. Visual hallucinations are experiences of images, either a partial image overlaid on the actual image from the eye, or a complete image called a vision. We may see patterns or visual images that overwhelm the nerves. So strong may these images be that they may damage the nerve. But macular degeneration, cataracts and blindness are forms of sensory deprivation, as are a blindfold, or closing your eyes, or being in darkness. Audible hallucinations are experiences of sound that appear to have no source. Voices, music, tinnitus. We may hear something so loud it overwhelms the nerves. So strong may these sounds be that they eventually damage our hearing. On the other hand, we may seek sensory deprivation, in which case we can use ear protectors, earplugs, earmuffs, and other ear defenders, or we may even have a perforated eardrum. Gustatory hallucinations are experiences of tastes that appear to have no source. Although we get most of our sense of taste via smell, we can create sensory overload by eating food that is very strong, for example chilies. On the other hand, if we don't eat, fasting, these nerves will have nothing to work on. Additional help we have provided. In addition to the introductory videos we have provided for each type of hallucination, we have also provided pages on our website, links to other websites, a book, and a portal. The portal. This link can be directly accessed. It takes you to a page that has an alphabetically organized list of all the things we have on the website that cause an hallucination, together with the number of hallucinations they caused. This is here so that you can check whether other people have also experienced an hallucination from the drug, the illness, the pathogen, the toxin, and so on. Website page. We have a website page that provides observations only of this type. This page may take some time to load because of the number of observations. There's also a link at the bottom of the page that divides the observations by type: hearing voices, hearing sounds and music, tactile hallucinations, olfactory hallucinations, and so on. The book. The book is available from Amazon and has the snappy title, Visions and Hallucinations, a summary of findings from the first scientific, evidence-based study into heaven.